Guys, I didn't know if you saw this weird tweet. I just wanted to talk about this from a woman named Lulu Cheng Maservi. She's the EVP, so Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs at Activision Blizzard. And she tweeted this. I don't know. We said on the last episode, I don't want to get too much into legal analysis these days out of respect to Rick Hogue, who's recovering from a stroke, and he's our legal analyst on the show, and we're not going to do legal analysis with anyone else. And I feel like we're a little bit drowning in some of this information without his guidance. But I think that there are still things that we can discuss. And I just feel like Microsoft, I don't know. People are talking about how Sony's coming off as an asshole in this Microsoft Activision Blizzard situation, that they're just kind of making a stink. And that's probably true. As we've talked about in previous episodes, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you make it as hard as possible? Why wouldn't you use your resources, your legal resources and all the rest to just make it hard? Microsoft would and has done the same thing to other companies in the past. So there is that angle. But I must say, Microsoft seems to be the one coming off a little desperate, not Sony. And this tweet, so Lulu Cheng Maservi, again, Activision Blizzard, tweets out a picture of a tweet saying, "The Last of Us HBO continues to prove that it can be the greatest video game to TV adaptation ever. I'm in awe." And then so she screen caps this and says, "Hi, FTC. Did you catch last night's episode of The Last of Us? It was incredible. No wonder the show is breaking records. It's a true blockbuster watched by tens of millions. If you haven't already, you should check it out. You may be particularly interested in the fact that The Last of Us is produced by Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions. It's based on a best-selling video game developed by a Sony-owned studio and published by Sony as a PlayStation exclusive. Why does this matter? The FTC has opposed the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal on the grounds that Microsoft could, quote-unquote, suppress competition from rival consoles by leveraging Activision's games. It sounds like there's some worry that Sony's position as market leader could be jeopardized by this deal, but there's no cause for concern. Sony has an unrivaled war chest of IP, not just in gaming, but TV, movies, and music, which can be developed into games or can market existing games. Case in point, the TV show The Last of Us is already generating renewed interest in that game. Sony's talent and IP across gaming, TV, movies, and music are formidable and truly impressive. It's no wonder they also continue to dominate as the market leader for consoles. In gaming, Sony is the first of us, and they will be just fine without the FTC's protection." I don't know why they thought this was a good thing to tweet. And I don't know why it's not being made fun of a lot more than it should, because Lulu, you're talking about an IP Sony owns and made from a studio they own, going through a pictures pipeline that they own. They didn't buy any of it. I don't understand what this is supposed to be arguing. This seems to be making the exact opposite argument. Am I fucking crazy? Because when I saw this, I was like, I was surprised it was tweeted. I'm surprised it's still up. Because they're aggrandizing, like, this constant boosting of Sony as like this great thing that's beating them and destroying them and has so much more than them. It's like, it's kind of making you look stupid and desperate. You're pointing out the success of The Last of Us. That's a completely Sony created endeavor. I don't get it. I just don't understand what this means. Dustin.
Yeah, well, the funny part too is just to think about it. It's like, okay, well, Xbox has a major franchise that they built called Halo. And look how that turned out between its new games, its follow-ups, and also its TV show. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those things. It's like, oh, they in order to succeed, they have to buy something like The Last of Us, because clearly they couldn't handle it with their biggest IP, which should have been the easiest slam dunk ever. You know what I mean? It's just, I totally agree. I thought this was especially the thing at the end in gaming. Sony is, quote, the first of us. That is one of the cringiest things I have read in a long time.
Yeah.
Just insane.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Chris?
No, I just say I feel like I've read nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like how many tweets is this? Is like 5 tweets or something? And I feel like nothing was said the entire time. It's like a very bizarre. I don't even know how to react to this.
Well, because it's just the Halo thing is a good example, but they didn't make Halo. They bought it.
Yeah, that's true.
So they nurtured it and made it into what it was going to be. But Halo existed before Microsoft owned it and was going to come out on Apple computers. So it's different from the word go, but I just feel like that there's no argument. This is a bad course of inquiry for them because this is a bad place to attack them. What you're basically saying is they made these things from scratch, basically, bought into studios that they nurtured or created them from scratch as well, and then created something big. And we can't do that or refuse to do that, so we're going to go buy it. And then you're calling it to attention in this by saying, well, don't look how creative they are. They don't need, it's like, yeah, what are you doing? I don't get it. I don't understand what the point of this was. It looks stupid. And I continue to be dubious of a lot of the analysis about this deal, as the analysis has been widely wrong the entire time, as this seems to be getting deeper and deeper and deeper into, legalese and the gamesmanship that's being played. Because as Hogue would remind us, Sony can sit down and sign that deal now, and the FTC might look at that and be like, and the European Commission and others might look at that and be like, well, okay, they're okay with it. Maybe we're going to be okay with it. Although that wouldn't mean anything. But there's the risk that this goes through and Sony never inked that deal and then they don't get anything. And I think Sony realizes that Microsoft cannot do that, because then it would prove that they were going to take it away the entire time. So I think Sony's strategy is that we have no reason to sign this, because if they really mean what they're saying, then they're never going to take it off of PlayStation regardless of what we say or do. And I think that's kind of crystallizing. That strategy is becoming more obvious. It seemed more risky when it was first happening. Well, it's like when you're you see like a criminal being tried and he takes a plea bargain because the plea bargain is better than him going through the trial and then losing, right? They're kind of in the plea bargain situation now where they're going to go to trial instead. But I think Sony realizes that the penalty is not going to exist regardless of what happens, because if they take Call of Duty from PlayStation because we didn't sign that deal, then they would have fulfilled what we said they were going to do the entire time. So this might be like a 4D chess move. I don't know.